to waking up before the world does isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's not about winning the morning for the sake of some external badge of discipline. It's about power, yours. Quiet, grounded, intentional power that starts before anyone asks anything from you. This one shift changes everything you move from reacting to life to leading it. And that leadership starts in the first 30 minutes of your day. Most people roll out of bed already behind. The alarm goes off, and immediately they're pulled into the current, scrolling through notifications, checking emails, mentally calculating what they're late for. The world demands their attention before they've had a single second to ask themselves what they need. And over time, that pattern creates a subtle, persistent stress, a life lived on defense. But when you wake up before the noise, even just a little bit, you take your first breath from a place of control. It's not about the hour, it's about the ownership. When you give yourself time before the world wakes up, you reclaim the rarest commodity in lifety space to breathe, to think, to listen. No demands, no requests, just you, fully present with yourself before anything else competes for your focus. That stillness is more than peace. It's preparation. It's where intention is born. That first part of the day isn't just a time slot. It's a signal. A message to yourself that says, my mind matters. My body matters. My priorities matter. Even if it's only 20 or 30 minutes, that early moment tells your nervous system, you're safe. We're not rushing. We're not behind. That's not just self-care. That's nervous system regulation. And when you begin your day from that grounded place, you make better decisions, speak more clearly, and handle pressure with more resilience. Here's the truth. When you give the first of your day to yourself, you stop begging for scraps of peace later. You don't have to sneak in moments of calm between chaos. You already built your foundation. That's what makes the rest of the day different. That's why people who start their day intentionally feel different. They're not better. They're not superhuman. They're just anchored. And that anchor, it was forged before sunrise. You don't need an elaborate routine. You don't need to check 10 boxes. You need presence, just presence. A few quiet minutes to move your body, to stretch, to breathe, to read, to write, to sip water and check in with your thoughts before the world tries to tell you who to be. That's not weakness. That's strength. Because it takes strength to pause, to resist the pull of urgency, to sit with your thoughts before numbing them with distraction. In a culture obsessed with productivity, the real rebellion is presence. The real flex is a calm mind in a chaotic world. And yes, there will be resistance. The bed will feel warm. The pillow will feel like safety. But that's the moment where the shift happens. Not because it's comfortable, but because it's aligned. You're not choosing discomfort for suffering. You're choosing discomfort for growth. You're choosing to lead, not drift. This habit also trains something deeper: identity. Every time you get up for you, you cast a vote for the kind of person you are. You reinforce a belief that says, I follow through. I don't wait for the world to give me time. I make it. And those beliefs, they show up in everything else. In how you show up at work, in how you respond in relationships, in how you handle setbacks. Because the way you start your day is often the way you live your life. It's easy to underestimate this habit because it's so quiet. No one applauds you for it. No one sees you tiptoeing into the kitchen while it's still dark. But that's the point. This isn't for show, it's for you. It's a private commitment that builds public results. And if you've tried before and slipped, good. That means you're human. Start again. Set the alarm 15 minutes earlier. Don't aim for perfection, aim for presence. Keep it simple. 1 glass of water, 1 page of a journal, 1 minute of stillness. That's enough. Because consistency doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from small, repeated choices that build trust over time. The real win isn't waking up early. The real win is owning your morning. And ownership isn't given, it's taken. Taken back from distractions. Taken back from urgency. Taken back from the belief that you don't have time for yourself. You do. You always have. The question is, will you take it? Because if you do, even just for a few minutes each morning, you'll feel the difference. Not all at once, but gradually, quietly, powerfully. And one day, you'll realize life didn't just happen to you anymore. You started happening to it. Most people go through their days without ever truly seeing themselves. We brush our teeth, fix our hair, glance in the mirror, and all we notice are flaws, the tired eyes, the blemishes, the signs of aging. We've trained ourselves to critique, not connect. But there's a shift, a quiet but powerful one, that happens when you stop, stand still, and actually look yourself in the eye. When you make deliberate eye contact with your own reflection, something unlocks, not ego, not vanity, but awareness. This habit isn't about hype. It's not about giving yourself a pep talk that sounds nice but feels fake. It's about truth. It's about checking in with the one person you spend every second of your life with, yourself. And for most of us, that relationship is long overdue for a reconnection. We've ignored ourselves for too long. Talked down to ourselves. Treated ourselves as an afterthought. This practice, looking yourself in the mirror and seeing yourself, is how that begins to change. You can't build self-trust without self-recognition. You can't lead your life if you're always disconnected from the one living it. Eye contact forces presence. You can't hide behind distractions. You can't scroll away. You're there, in front of you, in real time. And for many people, that's uncomfortable. It feels unfamiliar, even awkward. But that's exactly the point. Discomfort is often the doorway to healing. When you look at yourself in the mirror, really look, you get to ask the questions you've been avoiding. How am I really doing today? What do I need? What am I carrying that I haven't named? That kind of honesty can be jarring at first, but it's also freeing. Because when you face what's real, you stop running. And when you stop running, you start leading. This is where you begin to rewrite your inner dialogue. Most of us speak to ourselves in a tone we'd never use with anyone else. We minimize our effort. We magnify our flaws. We dismiss our pain. But when you make eye contact with yourself, you can interrupt that pattern. You can pause long enough to say, I see you. I know you're trying. You're not perfect, but you're showing up. And that matters. That simple moment of affirmation, when it's real, not performative, can shift your entire internal state. Because we're not starving for praise, we're starving for permission. Permission to be human. Permission to feel. Permission to slow down. You give yourself that permission in that moment. And the deeper truth, you don't need anyone else to validate your worth when you've learned how to do it for yourself. That's not arrogance. That's power. Because once you stop outsourcing your confidence to other people, you become unshakable. When the world is loud, when opinions come flying at you, when failure stings, you've already built your own foundation. This habit also grounds you in identity. When you look in the mirror with intention, you're not just seeing your reflection, you're reminding yourself who you are. Not the roles you play, not the labels you carry, you. The person behind the responsibilities. The one with a story no one else fully knows. That daily moment becomes your anchor. A chance to return to yourself before the world starts pulling you away. And the world will try to pull. It will tell you who you should be, what you should care about, how you should look, speak, live. But that voice in the mirror, that's the one that matters most, because that's the one that decides how you walk into your day. And don't mistake this for ego work. This isn't about thinking you're better than anyone. It's about remembering you're not less. You don't have to shrink. You don't have to doubt yourself every time you speak. You don't have to apologize for existing. This practice reminds you you belong here. Fully. Some days, this might be all you have, 1 minute of presence before the storm of the day rolls in. But that minute, it can hold more strength than an hour of noise, because it's a moment where you return to your center, where you remind yourself that you've survived before and you'll do it again. And maybe the most powerful part of this practice, you become someone you can count on. You're not ignoring your own needs. You're not bypassing your own emotions. You're standing with yourself eye to eye, saying, I've got you. Over time, that becomes your default. And when you trust yourself deeply, you move differently. You set boundaries without guilt. You say no with clarity. You walk into rooms without needing to perform, because the version of you that you face in the mirror every morning, that's the version you've chosen to respect. So tomorrow morning, don't just glance, pause, breathe, make eye contact with the person in the mirror and see them. Not with judgment, not with criticism, with honesty, compassion, and strength. Because the world doesn't need another person just getting by. It needs people who are awake, people who are leading from within. And that leadership, it starts in the mirror. One look at a time. It seems like such a small thing. Drink water before coffee. That's it. No complexity. No ceremony. Just a glass of water first thing in the morning. But don't let the simplicity fool you. This small habit is a declaration, a signal to your body and your mind that you are no longer living on autopilot, that you're done ignoring your needs, that from the very first moment of the day, you choose to care for yourself first. Most people roll out of bed and reach straight for caffeine. It's a reflex, not a decision. It's what culture has taught us. Start fast. Get moving. You're already behind. Coffee becomes the crutch we lean on to jumpstart the day. But here's the problem. When the very first thing you put into your body is something that stimulates your nervous system before you've even hydrated, you're not setting yourself up for strength. You're setting yourself up for survival. And you weren't built to survive your days. You were built to lead them. Water before coffee isn't about denying yourself pleasure or routines you enjoy. It's about reordering your priorities. It's about meeting your body's basic needs before meeting the world's expectations. After 7 or 8 hours of sleep, your body is naturally dehydrated. Your cells are thirsty. Your brain is operating at reduced clarity. Your organs are waiting for fuel. When you drink water first, you're saying, I listen to what my body needs, not just what my habits want. It's about ownership. This one act, repeated daily, builds a quiet but powerful self-respect. You're no longer running from one dopamine hit to the next. You're pausing. You're choosing. You're saying, I'm in control of how I begin. And that message isn't just for your body. It's for your identity. Because the more you align your small choices with your long-term wellness, the more you become someone who shows up for themselves. It's easy to overlook how much those first 5 minutes of the day matter. But they do. They set the tone. They send signals. And they compound. Drinking water before coffee doesn't just affect your hydration. It affects your energy, your digestion, your skin, your focus, and your stress levels. That one glass of water in the morning might not feel transformational the first time, but done consistently, it begins to shape your entire internal state. You'll notice your coffee doesn't hit as hard. You won't need 3 cups to feel awake. Your energy won't spike and crash as quickly. Your mind will feel clearer. Your emotions will feel more stable. You'll stop reacting to your day and start responding. Because water isn't just physical, it's foundational. It's also an act of discipline, and not the rigid, punishing kind. This is the kind of discipline that flows from self-respect. You're choosing what's better, not what's easier. You're delaying gratification not to restrict yourself, but to strengthen yourself. Every time you reach for water first, you're reminding your brain that you are in charge. That habits don't control you, you control them. That you're not just a passenger in your life, you're the driver. And here's what happens when you build that kind of trust with yourself in the morning, it ripples. That one act of discipline becomes 2, then 3. You eat more mindfully. You speak more intentionally. You protect your peace more fiercely. You stop negotiating your health for convenience because you've already proven before the sun fully rose that you are someone who follows through. There's a deeper message here, too, one that often goes unnoticed. Drinking water first is a way of saying, I don't need to numb myself to face the day. Because that's what caffeine often is for so many, an escape, a way to bypass fatigue, to override stress, to pretend we're fine when we're really depleted. But when you hydrate first, you face the day with honesty. You meet your body where it's at. You don't override, you honor. You say, let's begin slowly. Let's begin well. And in a world obsessed with speed, that's power. That's leadership. You don't need to overhaul your entire routine. You don't need to wake up 2 hours earlier or change your life overnight. You just need to make one shift, one glass of water, one small promise kept. That's how big change begins, in moments no one sees, with choices no one claps for. So, tomorrow morning, when you walk into the kitchen, pause. Let your instinct reach for the coffee if it wants to. But then remind yourself, you've got something more important to do first. Fill the glass, drink it slowly. Let it wake you up. Let it ground you. Let it be your first act of self. Leadership before the world asks anything from you. It's just water, but it's never just water. It's a reminder, a ritual, a choice. And those small choices, they build the life you've been trying to create. We live in a world that celebrates multitasking. Get more done. Fill every minute. Chase every goal. But in that chaos, something critical gets lost: clarity. When everything feels urgent, nothing truly gets done. You check 10 boxes, but don't feel any closer to what matters. That's where this habit changes everything. Choose one non-negotiable task each day. One thing that no matter what will get done. It sounds simple. It sounds small. But make no mistake, this is a powerful act of self-leadership. Choosing one non-negotiable task forces you to stop drifting and start deciding. It demands that you ask yourself, what matters today? Not what's loud, not what's trending, not what someone else expects of you, but what matters to you today, right now. And that one question can cut through the noise like a blade. Because most of the time, we're overwhelmed not because we have too much to do, but because we haven't decided what to focus on. This habit turns your scattered energy into directed force. Instead of spinning your wheels, you move with purpose. You anchor yourself to a single priority, and that anchor gives you direction. You might still do other things, but everything else becomes secondary. That one non-negotiable, that's your promise to yourself. That's the task that earns your energy, your presence, your best effort. And here's where the power lies when you follow through on that one task. No matter how small, you begin building trust with yourself. You stop living in guilt over what didn't get done. You stop ending your day feeling like a failure, even after 12 hours of effort. Because now you've shifted your focus from doing everything to doing the right thing. That kind of focus rewires your mindset. It transforms the way you see time. Suddenly, your day isn't a race, it's a decision. You're not trying to win the calendar. You're trying to win your attention. And that's a far more powerful victory. Think about how often we give our best energy to things that don't actually move us forward. We check emails before tackling the real work. We scroll through social media before addressing our goals. We fill our day with busy work so we can feel productive but not actually be productive. The non-negotiable task cuts through that fog. It forces you to confront what actually matters and to act on it. This doesn't mean the task has to be huge. Some days, it will be writing the first page of a book. Other days, it's getting to the gym. Maybe it's calling someone you've avoided, finishing a project, or sitting in silence for 10 minutes. What matters is why it's non-negotiable, not because of its size, but because of its meaning. Because it aligns with who you're becoming, because it moves the needle, because it brings peace. Once you start living this way, committing to one thing and doing it, you'll notice something shift. You'll stop feeling behind. You'll stop measuring your worth by your output. You'll begin to live with intention, and intention always beats intensity. It's also a quiet rebellion against a culture obsessed with burnout. We're praised for being overworked, applauded for exhaustion, treated like rest and focus are luxuries. But when you choose one task and you guard it, you're saying, I value depth over distraction. I value intention over impulse. I value my growth over my image. And that takes courage, because you will be tempted to do more. You will hear the voice in your head that says, that's not enough. But here's the truth: enough isn't about volume. It's about alignment. If you picked the right task and you gave it your full attention, then it was enough. You did what mattered. And that's more than most people do in a week. This habit also becomes your filter. When new demands show up, and they will, you ask, does this support my one task today? Or is it pulling me off course? That question gives you boundaries. It gives you clarity. It gives you the freedom to say no without guilt, because you've already said yes to something higher. Over time, the compound effect is massive. That one task per day becomes 30 in a month, 365 in a year. That's 365 intentional, aligned, purpose-driven decisions. That's how books get written. That's how businesses are built. That's how self-respect is forged, not through chaos, but through clarity. And most of all, it's how you begin to believe in yourself again, because every day you're proving to yourself, I can choose. I can focus. I can follow through. That belief. That's the foundation for every goal you've ever dreamed of reaching. So tomorrow, before the day gets loud, ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today that truly matters? Pick it. Commit to it. Protect it. Let that task be your guide, your anchor, your win. Not because you're trying to be perfect, but because you're practicing alignment. Because one task done with intention is worth more than a dozen done with distraction. That's not just productivity. That's power.